All right, welcome in. It's a brand new edition of the RSL Show, and a little bit of a more of a melancholy tone to
Melancholy.
there. Thank you to
Yeah, you're
today's
welcome.
episode because Josh, the 2024 season, it's over, man.
That's a wrap.
It's a wrap. It's gone.
It's an absolute wrap. There's nothing left to it. Players are already out of town. It's over.
It's so weird to sit here and think that the season's done. It's just like that.
Yeah.
You lose two back-to-back games in the penalty shootout, and you move on.
I can't wait to talk about the penalties, Alex.
Oh man. Okay. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I got caught with a little bit of overconfidence, thinking that Real Salt Lake could take on this Minnesota team fine, and it turns out it wasn't that way.
Well, what happened is you had the confidence that you should have in a team that should be performing and a team that should be able to handle Minnesota.
There you go.
Big difference there.
Yeah. But before
Yeah.
we get into all that, just usually how we start. Josh, how you doing, man? What's going on in your world?
Just working away, working to my life, to death, really. Just looking forward to never being able to retire, and just do this until y'all bury me. But that was morbid. I'm sorry. Wow. I'm just really sick of work right now, I guess. That's my subconscious just streaming right there. But I heard it's a pretty special day though.
Is it a special day?
It is, isn't it your birthday, Alex?
Oh man, yeah, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday, dude.
I'm finally 30.
No, you're not.
I know.
You're what, 24 now?
Turning 25.
Oh, wow.
Turning 25.
Wow. You're still
Yeah.
a baby.
I'm getting there. I'm feeling it in my knees, man. Anytime I go up the stairs, I can definitely feel the age catching up to me.
Yeah, buddy, it gets worse.
You know what else gets worse?
Being an RSL fan?
Yeah, talking about Real Salt Lake's defeat to Minnesota. And that's what we're going to get to now. But first, actually, let's talk about the other results that happened, because there was a couple of surprises, a couple of really big surprises in the playoffs. And we have to start with, of course, the New York Red Bulls upsetting the defending champion in the Columbus Crew, also advancing, winning in the PKs, and taking out Gucho, Wilfred Nancy, and company. There will be a new champion in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, it's going to be Miami. We all know this. But it's nice to see that we're not the only sad fan base right now that didn't live up to expectations.
Massive expectations for Columbus, right? You play in the the CONCACAF Champions Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
You don't win that one. You do make it to a Leagues Cup final.
2 finals.
Yeah.
Should be sitting pretty going into playoffs.
You should. And I think, I a lot of expectations and a lot of this is a Columbus team that throughout the whole season has kind of been running the Eastern Conference, maybe outside of Inter Miami, right? Inter Miami and Columbus Crew were the heavy hitters, the teams to beat in the Eastern Conference. And New York Red Bulls, Emil Frostberg, their DP, came out in the press conference before the series started and said, "Why can't we win? Why not us?" And look at that. The New York Red Bulls make it through to the next round.
It's the right mentality, man. Why not us?
They do. They get the dub. They move on. Cincinnati losing to New York City FC 3-1. New York City FC forcing a Game 3. Atlanta, man, with a 2-1 win over Miami with a 95th minute golazo.
Let's go.
To force a Game 3. What a way to end the game for Atlanta. What a way to force Game 3. It was such a beautiful goal from Sandro Silva.
Just imagine Miami getting knocked out in the first round. We know it's not going to happen, but just imagine.
I think there's a lot of fans around the league that are going to be Atlanta United fans come this weekend.
I'm one.
Yeah.
And, it's not even that I don't want to see Messi win a trophy or whatever. Like, that's cool and all, but I want the league to have a bad day.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
They force a Game 3. That, of course, will be played this weekend. Houston getting eliminated by Seattle in the penalties as well. Both of those games went to PKs. Both of those won by Seattle. Houston is out. Hector Herrera spitting on referees.
That's little Vera-esque, huh?
A little Vera-esque. And by the way, breaking news, the Houston Dynamo have decided to move on from Hector Herrera.
That's wild.
His contract was declined earlier today.
Are we seeing a league shifting away from the current superstars?
Could be.
Or do you think they're going to try to re-sign him on a smaller deal?
I think if he takes a smaller non-DP deal, I'm sure he probably will stick around. But it does kind of, I do think the spit plays a little bit of a part in it
It's not great.
because it's your captain in a playoff game. You spit on the referee, and then, a couple days later, you're in contract talks, you're in contract negotiations. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you're having those contract talks and those contract negotiations, right? It's going to
Right.
be the spit. It's going to be the bad image that you've left now on Houston because you spit on the referee. So I'm very curious to see what comes out of this, because I honestly could see it going either way. Like saying, hey, you did this, it's bad, we're moving on completely, we don't want to be associated with you anymore, or let's renegotiate for a cheaper deal.
Yep, 100%.
Bad move from Hector Herrera. Terrible move from Hector Herrera. And again, just interesting to see what comes out of that one. 3-0 win for the Vancouver Whitecaps over LAFC for them to force game 3. How about that, Josh?
Let's go. I know Domi didn't score any of those, but it's just the power of Domi on the bench against LAFC.
LAFC, I didn't really give Vancouver a chance coming into this one. Ryan Hollingshead with an own goal, Ryan Gold again with the goal, and Eddie Segura with an own goal. So 2 goals for Vancouver coming off an own goal, but still obviously enough to force that game 3. I think Vancouver is another team that probably most of the league is rooting for in this one.
Yeah, I mean, just think of the playoffs. No LAFC, no Columbus, potentially no Miami. That's a lot more entertaining for me.
Who would have thought?
I
In that
mean,
scenario.
a lot still has to happen for that to work out that way, but it's not out of the question.
Game 3 for all these games, Friday, November 8th, LAFC, Vancouver. Their game 3 will be on Friday night. Cincinnati, New York City, Orlando, Charlotte. Charlotte also forcing game 3. That's one I missed. Charlotte winning in the penalties. The goalkeeper for Charlotte saving 3 penalties in that one to force a game 3. And then Inter Miami against Atlanta on Saturday, November 9th as well. Those are all the game 3s. Fun ending here to the best of 3 series in the playoffs.
Is it bad that I still forget Charlotte has a team?
No, they're pretty, I don't want to say forgettable, but they're a little forgettable.
They are. Like, I don't love their color scheme. I don't love their crest. I don't know. They just haven't really made a lot of noise in the past. They're just easy to forget, I guess.
Also, real quick, just want to give a little bit of love and a quick shout out to the 2024 MLS Young Player of the Year, Diego Luna. It was announced earlier today that award has officially gone to the RSL midfielder. Huge congratulations to Luna for what's been a phenomenal season. Really stepped up in the latter parts of the season once Chicho and the attack kind of started struggling. He obviously got the big goal against San Jose to give Real Salt Lake the 3 points on the road, much needed 3 points on the road. And so, quick shout out to Diego Luna again for winning the 2024 MLS Young Player of the Year award. So Real Salt Lake heads to Minnesota in a game 2 in a do or die must win situation. If not, they're out. They're eliminated. And some interesting changes to the lineup, and it starts with Zach McMath in goal, Javane Brown at the right back position, Justin Glad, Brian Vera back from suspension getting the start, and Alexandros Katranis at the left back spot. Josh, any questions, any concerns for you there?
No, seems like the strongest possible back four we have available, especially at the right back position. So, yeah, it's a decent back line.
Emeka Anelli with Brian Ojeda back in the midfield with Dominic Markzuk on the right, Diego Luna on the left, Matt Crooks sitting underneath at the 10, and then up top, Anderson Julio starting over Chicho Arango.
That just goes to show how bad Chicho's form is, doesn't it?
In a must-win, do or die situation where there's no tomorrow for you. You have
Yeah,
to go out there. You have to win. That's it. That's bottom line. And you can't rely on Chicho Arango, your captain, your DP, and you can't rely on Diogo, your other DP. Is there any question? Is there concerns there for the DP spots for Real Salt Lake?
absolutely. Right? I still think Chicho will come back alive. He'll come good. Whatever happened after the suspension, during the suspension, preseason will come. We'll move on. I hope Diogo comes good, but it's just not. He's not doing it for me, man. He has glimpses, but woof.
He has glimpses, but those glimpses, especially down the stretch, into these more important, high-profile games, have been more the glimpses. There's been less glimpses and more. What's the right word for it? Disappearing. I don't know.
Oh
Just
yeah, he's been invisible
yeah. There you go.
for a lot of the time he's been on the field. There's no
Yeah.
question about that.
Yep. So I think for me, more concerning that, of course, Chicho isn't starting, and again, I don't. I think that's just more of, hey, you're not in form. We need goals. We need something going here. Let's try Anderson Julio.
Maybe they thought Minnesota would give us more space so we could stretch the field more. I don't know, but not what you want to see.
Definitely not. And you know what else you don't want to see? Minnesota come out the way that they did
Yeah,
because they looked good.
yes they did.
They looked really good. They got a lot of opportunities going forward. Zach McMath again had to come up with some big saves. All the pressure was on Real Salt Lake's back line, and I truly still don't know how Minnesota didn't score in that first half.
No, we got very lucky. That's what it comes down to. We got lucky. We should have been down one or two.
Again, McMath made a couple of good saves. Real Salt Lake having a couple of good moments going forward as well. But at the end, it's a stalemate. It's 0-0 heading into the halftime break, again in a do or die situation. So and especially with the way that the team was playing, a lot of concerns on my side. I'm sure there was a lot of concerns on your side too, Josh.
Absolutely. We just don't look ourselves, just like the rest of the last half of the season. We are a shell of RSL.
In similar fashion to game one, where Minnesota looked good coming out of the gates, this time reversed. I thought Real Salt Lake looked really good coming out of the gates, and including getting a corner kick opportunity that ends up at the feet of Brian Vera. Brian Vera hits the rocket, silences Allianz Field, and then disaster as VAR steps in and says, you know what? I don't think that was a goal.
Didn't love that call.
I didn't either.
It was an absolute beauty from Vera. But when you watch the angle from behind the net, Dane St. Clair was not obstructed of his view for that ball. I think it's a bad call.
I also think in this one it's a little bit unfair because, I mean, what do you expect Matt Crooks to do? He's 6'5".
Yeah, you want him to get shorter? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think once that call was overturned, that was like the nail in the coffin, right?
That did it for you?
There was still, game to play, but you just kind of lose all hope, right? That was a momentum changer right there, and then it's just kind of ripped away from you. And it's really hard to recover.
Yeah, yeah. How perfect would it have been for that goal to stand, right? And it being Brian Vera, who was being booed all game long at Allianz Fields because of the incident that he had with Michael Boxall earlier in the season, right? How
Yeah, it would have been
perfect would it have been
it
for
would have
him?
been ridiculous. I would have absolutely loved it, and it would have been the best goal for Brian Vera, right?
Yes.
So it's just unfortunate.
Yep. I think I think what sucks even more about that goal being taken away for Alsa Lake, one, I don't necessarily agree with the call. Of course, like I just mentioned, Matt Crooks is 6'5". There's really not much you can do in that situation. He ducked. He tried to get out of the way the best he could, but I
What do you
guess
do? What do you
yeah.
do?
What can you do? Not the best of calls, but I think the response for Real Salt Lake was unfortunate. because I think within 4 or 5 minutes of that goal getting overturned, you have Robin Lod hitting on the other side on a quick counter, just plays a good ball into Yeboah, and Kelvin Yeboah just has to put it back Zach McMath, and now all of a sudden you're trailing on the road 1-0.
Yeah, again, having that called back as a momentum shifter, um, it it's not to say Minnesota wouldn't have turned around and scored on us anyway, because we tend to do that, but it just took the wind out of our sails right away.
A lot of people, I mean, you can talk about momentum in sports all day, every day, and that it was a momentum shift for RSL Lake. They came out at the halftime looking good, had some good opportunities going forward. You get that goal, you're talking about a completely different ball game.
Mm-hmm. We potentially win that game, and not just that goal taken away. There's two, right?
Oh, we'll get to that one.
But I'm saying at least we were producing something at the
Yes,
time.
yes. Yeboah comes the other way, scores, puts Minnesota up 1-0, and then all of a sudden there's this big shift. You can feel momentum kind of take a lean back as Minnesota again decides to just try to hold off Real Salt Lake. They start to bring players down. They start to trying to shut things down, making sure Real Salt Lake can't get onto the attack. 61st minute, Real Salt Lake makes some changes. You have Diego Gonçalves checking in, Nelson Palacio checking in. Do those changes, I mean, I guess the Brian Vera one makes sense a little bit, right? You haven't played in 3 months or in 3 weeks, 3 games, however long it was.
He could have gone. He could have
He
gone. I
could have.
mean,
He could have. But to not bring Chicho Arango in, down 1-0.
that early, yeah. Come on, that should be your first move.
Yes.
Now he's out of form, but he's still Chicho Arango.
Yeah. Questions on the changes for me. A lot of questions especially bringing off Brian Ojeda too. I get you're trying to just get more attacking minded players in, but I think Brian Vera does a really good job of holding down the midfield. That's
Yep.
a player you kind of want on the field in this situation, because he also does a good job already advancing the ball forward anyway.
Yeah, you're removing an engine that's playing both ways, right?
Yeah.
And you're just kind of removing that cover. I mean, Anelli and Palacio can do that, but they're not as much of a two-way player as Ojeda is.
Not necessarily, yeah. Not necessarily a fan of that move. I do like the strategy to bring in more forwards. I mean, at this point, you're already done with nothing. What else do you have to lose?
Mm-hmm.
Get more attack on the field. Try to get some goals in. But Brian Ojeda, taking out Brian Ojeda, not a fan of that one.
Oh well. Oh well, Alex. It totally worked out in our favor.
72nd minute, as Emeka is now playing right back, Chicho Arango checks in for Anderson Julio. He comes in at the striker position, and then within 3 minutes of Chicho checking in, Chicho links up to Crooks. Crooks back to Chicho. Chicho back to Crooks. Crooks sees a runner coming into the box in Emeka Anelli, and Emeka Anelli equalizes for Real Salt Lake.
Couldn't be for a better player.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love that he's like the guy that scored in the playoffs.
Yes. If there's any guy though that I think deserved a goal in that moment, obviously it would have been awesome for it to be Chicho, but I think Emeka deserves it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's my MVP this year.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, give him that goal.
Emeka Anelli saves Real Salt Lake, scores the equalizer. From there, not a lot of opportunities for either side going forward until in the what was it, Josh? 87th minute?
Quite late, yes.
89th minute, somewhere around there. If I remember right, a corner is played in, and then Ross Lake tried to recycle the ball. Michael Chang is called for an offside position as Justin Glad puts the recycled ball into the back of the net off the corner, and the goal is taken off because Michael Chang is caught.
I had a real problem with the fact that this is a do or die game, and Michael Chang came onto the field. So no disrespect to Michael Chang, but why? You know what I mean? Why is he the one why is he still on the team?
This is a genuine question, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. Is Chang good at penalties?
I don't know.
Has he taken a penalty?
I'm sure he has in the past. We've been through plenty of shootouts. It's not like we're new to it. He's been around this team for a decade.
I remember most penalty shootouts pretty well, and I can promise you that Michael Chang did not kick a penalty kick.
None come to my mind.
Yes. Why is he on the field?
Lachlan Brook isn't fit.
You're going
You know
into
what I
the
mean?
shootout. You're going into the shootout, and you decide to bring in Michael Chang, who again I have not yet seen take a penalty.
Yeah,
The substitution just makes no sense to me.
zero. Again, a do or die, baffling substitution.
Yes, and I think that's all. That's all I have to say about that one.
Yep, baffling.
Yep. He's caught an offside position. Justin Glad scores, which, funny enough, me and Jay Catch, before the game, we were talking about Justin Glad, about how he didn't score all season long, and about how Rouse Lake didn't score that many goals off corners this year. So what happens? They score off a corner, Brian Vera, that goal's taken off.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Glad scores off a corner, that goal's taken off. So me and Jay Catch are like, all right, well, we can't ever talk about Rouse Lake before a game anymore because
it's all your fault, apparently.
this is what happens. Yeah. So we head to the penalty shootout. And Josh, let's talk about the order first, okay?
Okay.
Let's talk about the order first. You got Chicho going first.
Okay.
No brainer.
Sure.
No questions.
Mm-hmm.
Diego going second.
It's your attacking DP. I mean, he should go later, in my opinion, to be like the closer, but whatever. Not confident in it. It's cool.
I didn't mind it at 2, or I didn't mind him at 2 because, I mean, he went 2 last game, and he did fine.
Yeah.
Didn't mind it. Matt Crooks, another attacker, another guy that you probably want at the spot in the shootout.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Perfectly okay with that one. Diego Luna at the 4. Diego has stepped up for Real Lake time and time again. He's made pivotal penalties in the past.
He's missed pivotal ones in the past.
That one I'm okay with. Josh, are you okay with that one?
Yeah, I'm okay with that one.
You're okay with that one. Okay. All right. So the penalty shootout starts, and Chicho went first, puts it in. Again, no question for me that Chicho's going to score it.
Right. He does that in his sleep, right? If he misses that, alarm bells really going off.
If he misses that one, you really have a problem.
Yes.
Kelvin Yeboah steps up, does his weird stutter step thing that he does.
I don't like it.
I don't either. I think when you stutter like that, like Yeboah does, I don't think
he makes a complete stop.
I don't think that one should be allowed.
I don't either.
That's just me.
I've seen them be forced to retake for less.
Yes. But Yeboah steps up, puts it in, makes it 1-1. Diogo Gonçalves steps up. And again, I'm feeling good. He scored last time. He was number 2 in the last game. I'm feeling good. And then Dane St. Clair steps up and decides to ruin my night.
Yeah, but let's be real. It wasn't the best taken penalty.
It was not.
At all.
It was not. He made it a little bit easy for St. Clair.
Yeah.
Yep. So Rouse Lake's down. Advantage Minnesota. Hassani Dotson steps up, makes it 2-1 in the shootout. It's advantage Minnesota. And then Matt Crooks steps up. And you know what's really funny about the Matt Crooks one, Josh? In game 1, who went third?
Justin Glad.
And what did Justin Glad do?
He skied it.
So it's only fitting that the number 3 spot steps up in Matt Crooks this time. And what does Matt Crooks do?
He skies it.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect symmetry.
It's ridiculous. just like I was speechless. Like, you've got to be kidding me right now, right? This is really how this is happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sitting just watching the TV, seeing that ball go over the bar, and listening to DJ's call, and I just kind of sat there. It was like I was sitting in my own filth,
Yeah,
just watching this happen.
and you like almost like have to just giggle about it.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
yeah.
this isn't happening. It is happening, but this isn't happening, and I'm just gonna sit and laugh because what the hell?
This is how we go out.
Yep.
Will Trapp steps up, has an opportunity to send Rouse like packing, and then this again, just how it
Symmetry.
happens.
Yeah.
It just to give me a little bit of hope, just to give me a little bit of hey, this might happen. You
A
might be
little
able to come
shimmer.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then what happened?
Will Trapp misses it for Minnesota. Rouse Lake still have a chance. They just need Diego to score. And Dane St. Clair decides to deny Diego Luna.
Yeah. I mean, probably not the best taken penalty either, but better than Diogo's.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now we're done. An embarrassing loss at home, in my opinion, and a very embarrassing penalty shootout attempt from Real Salt Lake in the second game.
You can never miss three. You can't miss three penalties from the spot
No,
in a row like that.
in a row is just it's baffling. I've said baffling a lot, but it's baffling. I can't stand it.
Quick trivia:
Okay.
since the penalty shootout win in 2021 against Seattle in Seattle, how many penalty shootouts has Real Salt Lake won?
I'm gonna go with none.
Ooh, you're close.
One.
Just one.
Yeah. In
And it
Houston,
was
right?
it was to yes, it was to no in Salt Lake
In
to
Salt Lake
force
against Houston.
to
Yeah.
force game 3 against Houston. But there you go back to 22, you get knocked out in the penalty shootout to Austin. Tate Schmidt, you remember that one?
Yep.
You go back to last season, you go to the penalty shootout against Houston twice. You win the first one to force game 3, and then Danny Musowski. And then this year, you go to the penalty shootout twice, but you don't win either. You lose both.
It's not good, man.
No, it's not good.
I guess we used all of our penalty luck up in 2009.
And you know some in 2021.
Yeah, but those didn't win us anything like real.
Yeah, but Real Salt Lake was not supposed to beat Seattle that year.
That's true.
And
Still, but still, Alex. Let me be bitter.
I do think on a serious note, I do think it's extremely concerning that since that 2021 shootout, Real Salt Lake have only won one shootout.
It's more concerning that we've been in that many shootouts.
That too.
I don't know, man. It's just highly disappointing.
You're pretty much saying what just about every Real Salt Lake player has said in the exit interviews.
Good. I'm glad they feel it too. I just hope they mean it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of disappointment. You can kind of feel it around the players. You can obviously visibly see it on some of the guys walking off the field at Minnesota. After Minnesota, I want to give I want to give some props to Emeka Anelli and Zach McMath. Originally, we were told that no players were going to speak to the media after the loss on Saturday, and they stepped up and decided to talk. And I know it's not easy to talk in those situations, having just been eliminated, having just had your season ended. So huge props to them. But it was very apparent that Pablo, Zach, and Emeka were very, very distraught and very disappointed with what had
Yeah.
happened.
I mean, at least we're all in it together, you know?
Yep.
So we feel it, they feel it. I know we're not the ones on the field, but you know, we share that burden.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Just a lot of disappointment. You come and you have a spectacular season, club record setting season. You get the most points ever in a season. You're just shy of your best home record ever. You score the most goals you've ever scored in a season, and it just kind of amounts
Just
to nothing. It just amounts to nothing.
Right, but I mean that's what's talked about in the preseason, right? If you don't take anything home at the end of the year, how good was that year?
Yeah.
Right? You
Yep.
can finish second place, third place all you want, but if you never bring in home any hardware, no one's gonna remember this season.
And that's a sentiment shared by Pablo. He mentioned that obviously the goal and what the club wants is to hold up silverware. They want to hold up that trophy. They want to hold up a trophy, and to not really have an opportunity to compete for any trophy. I mean, early exit in the Open Cup, early exit in League Cup, early exit in the playoffs.
Yep.
You kind of lost track of the Supporter Shield race.
Nothing to write home about.
Just yeah, and I want to be positive, and I don't want to take away Champions League because I think Champions Cup because I think that's a huge accomplishment. That's a really good accomplishment for Real Salt Lake.
It is, but we can't put getting into Champions Cup on the in the rafters, you know what I mean?
You can't put club record points in the rafters either when you essentially have early exits in every competition you're a part of.
Exactly. It's like all of it was for nothing.
Yeah. So that leads me to the question, Josh. Is this season was it a good season or was it a bad season for Real Salt Lake? Was it a failure or was it a good thing for Real Salt Lake?
Um, that one's hard because
Yeah,
right now it's totally a failure for me. But in the grand scheme, that first 6 months was really fun.
it was.
So check back in on that with me later.
I do think I do think it is a failure in the sense that again, you have the early exits in just about every competition you're competing for.
Yeah, in that sense, it's absolutely a failure, right? Like this is by far the best roster RSL's ever had.
I agree.
Still don't have anything to show for it. So
I think a lot of progress was made as a club. I think there's a lot of good things to take away from this year.
yeah, but now it's how do we translate the attention that the good things from the club may have brought us into next year, right?
Exactly.
Because this roster will look different next year.
Well, and I think more importantly too is you have to obviously take the early elimination, take the failure of not being able to make a deep playoff run, take it to the chin and remember that, but at the same time you can't dwell on it.
Yeah, you have to move past it. We
Got
all
to
have
move
to move past it.
got to move forward and start focusing on 2025 because again, a big conversation and a big topic that Pablo and Kurt talked about in the exit interviews was trophies. They want
Mm-hmm.
trophies. They need trophies. And you know, you can't get caught up in this season's failure. Learn from it, sure, absolutely, but hope for more and better in 2025.
Yeah, and the pressure is on them to have a better 2025. So, like, hopefully, this wasn't our window to win, right?
I'd be shocked if that was the window to win.
I would be too, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
So,
I think that there's still a lot of questions, and we'll get more into this as we have roster decisions coming up here in the next couple of hopefully days. Decisions should be made about rosters and contracts, and we should be getting those end of year decisions here soon. We'll get those guys out to you on social media as soon as we get those. However, there is going to be a quick turnaround for Real Salt Lake, and I think there's a lot of questions that need to be addressed, like defensively
mm-hmm.
and potentially more depth in the attack.
Absolutely, right? I would not be shocked to see a couple key players move on, right? Because that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles when you have good players. So, it's going to be, can we replace these players? Can we afford to lose these players? It's going to be an interesting offseason.
And can we do it on time? Because
Yes.
the season for Real Salt Lake will start early February rather than late February, like everybody else in Major League Soccer.
Yeah. It's going to be a quick vacation for these guys before they're back in town.
And I think a lot of it's going to come down to And again, this was kind of said by Pablo too. It comes down to Chicho.
Mm-hmm.
We just need Chicho to kind of wipe the slate, clean his hands off of whatever it is that this final part of 2024 is and was for Chicho, and just come into the next year with a new mindset.
Yep. Just a whole new. It's a new season, new start. Go back to being yourself. We're all happy. You're happy. We can only hope.
We can only hope too that Mark Zook comes around, which I do think he will. I've again want to end with how impressed I've been with Mark Zook and how good he has been for this roster. I
Very
think
good.
I think with a little bit more time and just a little bit more acclimation to Utah, to RSL, to MLS, he'll come around, and he'll be a good replacement for Gomez.
Absolutely. And the biggest hope is that Diogo comes good. Um, I'm hoping the preseason is going to help him out with that. But again, we're really not going to know for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I think that's it, man.
All right.
I
Well,
think
we'll
that's
get into this some more of this in the next episode.
Yes, we'll get into the roster decisions. We'll put our GM hats on and start looking at this roster and the team from a GM standpoint and see kind of what we want to see, the areas that we think we need help, and some of the players that can potentially move on, some of the spots that we might need to bring some more depth in, some more help in, and start playing around with the RSL's roster and see what kind of Champions League roster we want to see for next season.
That's right. Time to start silly season.
Here we go. Last couple thoughts about 2024. Happy with the way the season started. Disappointed with the way the season ended. But still, I think there's still a lot of positives on this team that they can take on moving into the next season.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed, man.
Fingers crossed. That's all we can hope for. We'll be sad for a couple more weeks, and then after this, we'll move on. We'll turn the page to 2025 and start focusing on Champions League soccer.
Let's go.
That's going to do it for us here on the RSL Show on the KSL Sports Network. Thank you guys, as always, for listening, for tuning in, for subscribing, for doing what you have to do to follow the RSL Show for the best RSL content.